Hello there, friends, and welcome to the Doing What Matters podcast. I'm your host, Teresa McCloy. Erica is not with me on the podcast this week. She is out, so I am doing a solo this week, and I am thrilled to be with you. Here on the podcast, we really do want to be with you in a way of life that's rooted in rest, not rush, connecting to your real self, your real life, and your real work. And remembering who God uniquely created us to be and redefining what a successful life looks like through a different lens. So whether you're here to find inspiration, practical advice, or just a moment of connection, I am so glad you're here with me this week. And let's just dive into the conversation. I am going to back up just a bit and really dive into this idea this week of practical advice. We sometimes bring inspiration. Sometimes we're just connecting with you or a guest, or Erica and I are connecting together and you get to drop in on our conversation. But today I'm just going to get super, super practical. It has been a very full month for me, and I want to reference some of the things that I've done focusing on the idea of travel, something that we all do, and just how I make travel easier for myself and how I've learned some routines and rhythms around travel. So really practical things today. Maybe it will remind you of something that you used to do, or you'll say, oh, that's really one good little thing. I'm going to start doing that. So this is a practical podcast this week. So about 30 days ago, I started into kind of a very full month, and I don't feel overwhelmed by it. I knew that it was coming. I had pre-decided and planned it on my calendar. I love everything I do, and I love to travel. Even one of my areas of focus on my real life view, my rule of life, includes travel. I love when someone from my family or my team, or I can travel with someone. But I've done a little bit of both this past month. About a little over a month ago, I went to Atlanta. Dale got to go with me. I was speaking at a workshop for an entire morning with a group there. It was a great group. I wasn't feeling the best, I'll be honest. I was a little bit under the weather on that trip. Dale and I stayed in a beautiful Airbnb in North Georgia where we love to stay. Dale got to do some golfing. And so that was one trip we took for about 5 or 6 days. Then I was home for just a little bit, almost a week, and we hosted, people traveled in to see us here in Effingham, where our certified coaches came to us, and we hosted a retreat for about 3.5 days. And they were at my workspace, and then they were here on the farm, and they all traveled in. And so we had travel going on there. And then I was home for about a week. And then I took off a week ago, last Sunday, actually on Easter, which wasn't great, but I made it work. And I flew to Philadelphia to train for a speaking program that I'm doing this year. I flew out there and then had to rent a car. And then I actually stayed in a bed and breakfast when I go to this location in this little bitty, cute little town. And so I stayed at a bed and breakfast there. So far, I have traveled by plane, and I have driven, and I have rented a car. I was there for 4 days, and I literally came home and had less than 24 hours to do up my laundry, repack, same suitcase, same bag, and hop in my car and drive to Nashville, Tennessee, to support a client who was speaking at a conference and needed someone to go and be her team member because none of her team could make it with her on this trip. And she's been my client for a long time, and I love, love, love supporting her. And this was a big deal for her to get to speak for the first time to her peers, and just somebody to take notes and be another eyes and ears in the room. And I made the trip and drove the 4 hours down, and just got back this afternoon before I'm recording this podcast. I've driven a long ways, about 8 or 9 hours. I've driven the 4 hours. I've rented cars twice. I've ran the gamut of all the travel stuff. And back in the fall, when I took sabbatical, my husband and I, Dale and I, actually went to Europe for about 16 days. I think we were gone. And that trip was something I'd done a lot of research on how to travel. I was so proud of Dale and I. We bought 2 new pieces of luggage, which I'll talk about in just a minute, and 2 new kind of bigger travel size suitcase backpacks. And that was all that we took to Europe for 5 days in Italy and then 2 weeks on a cruise and traveling home. I was so proud of how we packed for that trip and how little we were able to get by with, and how it just made me realize what are the essentials of travel. So I'm going to share with you just some of my takeaways and some of the things that help me from a practical standpoint be in a good rhythm around travel, because it is one of my areas of focus is to travel. So let me start off with this. The first thing is a good suitcase. I have bought lots of luggage. In fact, when I cleaned out the house during my sabbatical, I was embarrassed as to how many suitcases I gave away and how big some of them were. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I ever think I could lift this suitcase if it was full of clothing and other stuff and put it in my car and take it through the airport and all of that? So I've cut way back, and I bought 2 really good suitcases that have the compression bag zippers inside. They have good rollers on them. I know now that we can go for 2 weeks with that suitcase and a backpack that I also bought new for us and have everything that we need. We proved it on our Europe trip. So having a good suitcase is super helpful. Then I think the next thing is, what are the mix and match colors in your wardrobe? Now, this goes for male or female, either one. I know that I really love clothing, but I have started to simplify my wardrobe a lot in the last 3 to 4 years. Again, embarrassed at the amount of clothing I gave away during sabbatical when I did a lot of clean out. And when we did some remodeling in our home, I kept thinking, maybe someday I'll fit into this, and realized I wouldn't. And then, to be honest, I actually did a pretty good health journey the last couple of years and am in way better shape. So I've done a lot of clean out. And as I did, I've really been more strategic on my clothing, and I've bought mostly solid colors and things that mix and match. So when I pack, I can mix and match most outfits and layer things together. And I might have one shirt or blouse that's more printed. And I usually can take one dress that I can roll up and wear with flats if I need to dress something up. But just keeping things really basic and simple. Jewelry or a scarf or something like that is easier to pack and smaller than all the clothing. So good suitcase, good mix and match wardrobe that you can layer up. Most of us aren't going for super long periods of time. And so many places, especially if you're going to Airbnb, have laundry. So you're going to be able to wash something if you need to. The other thing that you might consider, and we used when we went to Europe, if you're going longer period of time, is also the new compression bags that you can get in different sizes. I use those. It's amazing how much you can get in them, zip them around 2 or 3 times, and how small that they can make like several shirts be or things like that. So those are the packing things. The other thing, and this has been one of my biggest things in the last 1.5 or 2 years, is I have one bag that has all my personal care items in it. I never unpack that bag. All the personal care items in there are travel size. All my favorite skincare and makeup and toothbrush and medicines and all of those things that I might need are in this travel bag that stays in my bathroom cabinet. I don't put it back in there until I've checked if there's anything I need to buy before the next trip. and I make a list for that so that I have it the next time. I've pre-decided all of those travel sizes so that I don't have to spend the night before dragging everything out, getting everything ready when I could be spending it with my family before I take off. I want to be able to pack my bag the morning that I'm leaving. So that's another big one for me, as well as taking my favorite pair of slippers. I have a good friend who crocheted me a pair of slippers that I absolutely love because I can use them for driving. I can also use them in my hotel room or my Airbnb or wherever I'm staying. And they are very thin, so they pack really well, or they can actually even go, in my backpack. So favorite slippers, take something that's from home that's your favorite little thing. I usually also take with me some type of light blanket. If I'm on a plane, I'm stuffing that in my backpack so I can get to it if I need to cover up. Again, my good friend gave me these really cool lightweight little blankets called Teemas, Teema. You can look it up online. I love them. They can be a towel, they can be a blanket, they can be a shawl. I have a few of those in different colors, and I usually always keep one in my car, but I always put one now in my backpack because even rooms that you're in can be super, super cold. And she always had one with her. They make a great gift for people as well. So have a Teema blanket or shawl or towel with you as well when you travel. So those are the things that I pack and I take with me. Now, here's the next thing that I have found. I love using travel time, whether it's car time or flight time, to listen to things. Now, I save certain books and certain podcasts just for these occasions. Somebody mentions a book and I'll be like, ooh, next time I'm traveling, I'm going to listen to that one. Or I come across a podcast that I want to listen to and I might binge listen to it. So I just savor those big spaces of time on a flight or in an airport or driving in my car to listen to certain books and certain podcasts. And I look forward to those. So it feels like a treat. It's part of the whole travel experience. Even if I'm traveling for work, it feels vacation-y. The second part of that is many times if I'm driving like I was today, it was a 4-hour drive, I probably had nothing on, no radio, no book, no podcast. That is just such a gift that I give myself of just open space and open time. Time for my brain to be creative, time for me to think about anything that I want. Drive time to me, or sitting in the airport just watching people, or being on a plane, that is beautiful think time to me. So don't be afraid of the silence and the quiet while you're traveling. It is a gift. I love a long drive for that reason. It's where some of my best ideas come from. When I'm listening to a book, that's what happened today. I listened to this book that I've been listening to for a while, and I had an idea that came from listening. So I stopped the book and I just thought from that idea, one idea to the next for quite a long time. I didn't try to write things down. I'm going to trust that God's going to bring back around whatever I was supposed to hear from that, whatever I was supposed to remember from that particular time. So I love the quiet. And then the last thing I'll share with you about my travel experiences is I want to start and end my day with my morning routines, even when I travel. So one of the beautiful things I do in my morning routine, it may not appeal to you at all, but I use YouTube. I actually have the premium version to start my day with instrumental music. I have a few instrumental channels that I like to listen to. Both of them are channels that bring scripture up on the screen and then just have a beautiful background of either wildlife or scenery or whatever it might be. And I turn that on as soon as I get up in the morning, very quietly in our house, make my coffee, go to my certain chair and table, get out my journal, light my candle, have some quiet time and prayer time. And that's just part of my morning routine. And if I can stick to that, even when I'm traveling, which you can now because the TVs in your hotel room allow you to log in, and it just feels like a little piece of home if I stay in that routine. If I'm in an Airbnb or somewhere like that, I might even have taken my own coffee, that type of thing. So I take my journal with me, and I try to do the same thing in the evenings with my evening routine. It's a little bit shorter routine, but it's the same type of thing. I want to open my day and close my day the same way I would at home when I'm traveling. That way, if I have travel problems, if my flight is delayed or there's the stress that sometimes comes with travel, traffic, all those things, getting lost, whatever it might be, I feel like I'm still grounded in my day because I've started it and I've ended it the same. So I just recommend whatever your routine is, don't throw it out just because you're on the road. There might be exercise in there, walking, whatever it might be. Try to stay in your routine, so to speak. Same bedtime, same wake up time, all of that. It will make your travel so much easier. So those are just a few things that I do. Maybe there's something there that you're like, oh, I needed to be a reminder of that. I'm going to take action on that. Think about how you're going to simplify your packing, how you're going to stay in a routine, even around something. I use the same parking place every time I go to the airport. I try to use the same rental car companies, the same airline if at all possible, so that I know the routine. Sometimes it might be a little bit cheaper or this and that, but I know the routine. So I went back to Philly for the speaker training that I'm doing. And I was there in October and I was back this time and I used the same rental car company, and there's only one flight in and out and it's early in the morning. So I hop on the bus for the driver to take me back, I return my car, and I get on the bus and I listen and I'm like, oh, that's K-Love Radio that's on the bus driver's radio station. And I listened for a few minutes to whatever the Christian music was he was playing. And I'm like, this is the same driver that I had last time when I was here in October. And he was singing along with the radio and just so joyful. And it's early. It's 6 a.m. And I had gotten up at 4:30 to drive the hour to the airport. And it just brought such a smile and a joy to my face. And I asked him, I said, is this your route? Is this when you always work? And he said, it is. And I said, I appreciate you so much. Just your attitude, your joy, your heart. I love that routine of running into this same guy, doing his job, doing it well, just loving Jesus and singing while he's driving. I happen to be the only one on the bus. And I remembered him. He made an impression on me. So I love the routines of even knowing the rental car guys and having the opportunity to have those extraordinary moments. And maybe you want to think about your travel and what you're doing that will make it easier, make it simple, make it more joyful. And I would just encourage you to enjoy and savor those moments. You may have some travel coming up this spring or summer. I have so many great memories from those moments and those times when I travel. So friends, we'll just wrap up this episode with some really practical things. If you have practical travel tips that you'd love to share with me, I would actually love to know about them. And you can do that by going to thereallifeprocess.com. Remember, we spell real life with one L, thereallifeprocess.com. Click on the community tab. Join us over on our private circle platform. It's off of the other social media platforms. So once you join, it's just all people that are coming together inside of our private community. And I would love to know, just tag me and say, here's my favorite travel tip, because I love to learn new things about travel and what you love. So enjoy all the moments, friend. Travel safe. And we'll be back next week here on the Doing What Matters podcast. And remember that every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for them. We'll talk next week.